Hello, welcome back to the program Property Behind the Scenes, brought to you by the Federation of Estate Agents. This is the third in the English language series. I am Simon De Bono, your host for today, and I am the General Secretary of the Federation. I have here with me in the studio Hadrien Majoie. A pleasure. Welcome on board. We are going to talk today about the impression of non-Maltese about Malta and also about the Bitcoin and the blockchain. Hadrien, you have been in Malta for a few years now. Your
Since
general
2011.
impression, 2011, the general impression.
Malta is, to my opinion, the best place to live in the world. It has been elected several times best country to live in the world among international standards. Malta is indeed a great place, and I'm happy to choose it.
The program shows every day at 7:30 in the morning and 8:30 in the evening from Monday to Friday. It also shows in the weekends, Saturday and Sunday at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. There is a YouTube channel on F Living where you can see the programs, and also FEA Malta has its own YouTube channel as well as its own Facebook, Federation of Estate Agents Secretariat. We shall cut to a short commercial break. Please join us.
Dan huwa F Living Channel.
Welcome back to the program, Property Behind the Scenes, brought to you by the Federation of Estate Agents. I am Simon De Bono, your host for today. I'm the General Secretary of the Federation. With me today in the studio, I have Hadrien Majoie. He's an expatriate living in Malta since 2011, and Hadrien is also an authority on cryptocurrencies and the blockchain. So in the first part of this 10-minute series, I am going to ask our friend Hadrien. You had You had experience with dealing with estate agents when you were in Malta, and you
Yes.
had estate agents that were part of the federation, obviously some that weren't. Was there a difference?
There are definitely a difference. To have a real estate agent, which is part of the federation, is a big advantage when you're a foreigner, because you arrive in a new environment, and you need a standard that you can trust. And remaining in a country in the first days, first week, without your own place to stay, can be challenging. And knowing that you can rely on people who are going to be efficient, trustworthy, is indeed a great advantage. And that's why I'm thankful to the FEA.
Thank you for your nice comments. We have an issue in Malta that there is no official regulation. The regulation, the supervision and the code of ethics is enforced and implemented by the federation. Do you think that statutorily that a government should have regulated estate agents under law?
I believe that indeed there can be a great amount of problems when you don't know who to address your concerns to, and indeed the government should regulate further and push real estate agents to be federated and to comply with certain standards.
You have since 2011 you had a good 6 years now to form an opinion. Have you formed an opinion about the Maltese people?
Definitely, at time in several years. Maltese people are fantastic people to live with. Not only the weather is nice here, but you find the best population like ever. I travel the world many places. I must say that Maltese people are loyal, they are trustworthy, they are easy to deal with, they are always helpful. And I managed in 6 years being in Malta to build more than in 15 years being in Switzerland. It's not only because the regulations here allows the entrepreneurs to build great business, but it's because as well of the population which is supportive to entrepreneurship.
You mentioned, you just touched upon the regularity aspect, that it is easy to do business. Have you found cooperation from the authorities when you needed a permit, when you needed accountants, when you needed notaries? Has it been easy in Malta to do this?
The government reflects indeed the general population, which is it's in the Maltese culture to help others. Foreigners are welcome here, and to build business and to cover every needs that an entrepreneur can have is done by the government and by the people, and easily and in a really forthcoming manner.
There must be something you don't like.
Of course, there are things I don't like. The storms in winter can be very hard, and I ask some Maltese friends, and even them don't get used to it. But hopefully, that's only a short period of the time in the year. As well, there's traffic. I don't manage to drive in Malta. I prefer public transportations and taxis when I have to do long distances.
But are they efficient enough to get you where you want to go on time?
Yes, always. And I manage always to be on time. That's something that I imported from the Swiss education. I know that I'm not the only one to dislike traffic in Malta. And the Maltese government is going to invest 700 million, if I understood correctly, yes, in roads and in infrastructure, which is for a country of 500,000 people, fantastic.
Great stuff. We look forward to having a more efficient public transport system, and there is a physical commitment. The commitment is monetary, it is regulatory, and it seems to hold a consensus across the board. But there's something that also fascinated me when I was reading your profile, Hadrien. You are one of the better known experts on cryptocurrencies. We're talking things like Bitcoin. All right, what exactly is Bitcoin?
It is, in fact, let's see it that way, it's internet money. Bitcoin is a completely decentralized infrastructure. It's a public ledger, and every time you want to place a transaction, the public ledger is modified, and the transaction takes place in a secured manner and almost instant. It is an unforgeable currency with limited supply. Just like gold, it takes value over time. It is, to my humble opinion, the money of the future. We have to separate cryptocurrencies and blockchain technologies. They are two separate things.
I remember, Sarah, I met with you in about 2014, 2013 in Barcelona.
Yes.
And you were sitting on a table with, there were four rather elderly gentlemen. Mm-hmm. And you said, I'm thinking of investing into Bitcoin.
Correct.
And they laughed at you. What was Bitcoin worth at the time?
One Bitcoin was worth like $20, $50, something like that.
$50. What is it worth today?
5,000.
So one Bitcoin is worth $5,000.
That's correct.
And way back in 2013, it was worth 20.
Back in the days, that was a technology used mainly by geeks, by computer aficionados. Nowadays, the capitalization of Bitcoin surpassed the one of JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs.
So we're actually talking here of a capital appreciation, not of 10%, not of 100%, not of 1,000, of 10,000%.
That's correct.
It is correct. And we're talking consistently over a number of years.
This is consistent. There is fluctuations. There is high volatility that can be exploited to generate further profit. But overall, yes, it's consistent. The World Trade Organization estimates that by 2028, we will have, in 10 years' time, we will have 10% of the global domestic product on the blockchain, which represent $1,000 trillion, which is much more than the capitalization of Goldman Sachs.
There was China clampdown on Bitcoin.
Correct.
It literally banned it. And when a government like China, which has total control over the state, does something, it is absolute. And that is a continent. It's not a village or a small country.
That's 1 billion people.
It dipped a little bit, like 20%. And then it seemed to have recovered immediately after.
It recovered. And we believe that the announcement by China was, in fact, a marketing promotion made in order for the Chinese president to be re-elected. Nevertheless, Bitcoin has always shown great resiliency, and this technology is here to stay. Why? Because it's the most clever invention since the creation of internet.
You are watching the program F Living channel. The program is called Property Behind the Scenes. Today I have in the studio with me Hadrien Majoie, who is a resident of Malta, and also he is an expert on cryptocurrencies and the blockchain. The program is brought to you by the Federation of Estate Agents. I am your host, Simon De Bono. I am the General Secretary of the Federation. It shows daily at 7:30 in the morning and 8:30 in the evening from Monday to Friday, also in the weekends at 10 a.m., Saturday and Sunday, and 6 p.m. We shall now cut to a short commercial break. Looking forward to seeing you within the next few minutes.
Dan huwa F Living Channel.
welcome back to the program on F Living channel called Property Behind the Scenes, brought to you by the Federation of Estate Agents. I am your host today. My name is Simon Nabono and I am the General Secretary of the Federation. The program shows every day from Monday to Friday, 7:30 a.m. and 8:30 p.m., as well on weekends, Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. I have in the studio today as my guest Mr. Hadrien Majoie. Mr. Majoie is an expert on cryptocurrencies and the blockchain, and it shall form the discussion, the second part of our discussion. When I have money, I physically pull out my wallet and pull out physical money, you know. When I want to buy with my credit card, I physically pull out my credit card and either put it in the ATM or put it in a POS, all right? Or on the internet, you give the number. How would a cryptocurrency actually work? How would I buy and sell and exchange with it?
As President Obama said that with cryptocurrencies, we're all going to end up with encrypted Swiss bank accounts on the mobile phone. It's very close to the truth. When you have banknotes, in fact, they are property of the state. When you have a credit card, you're reliant on Visa or MasterCard and the bank infrastructure. Here with cryptocurrencies, you're your own bank. The coins are actually held on your phone or your computer.
So physically on your mobile?
It's on your mobile.
Your Bitcoin will be in here?
Correct. And nowhere else, unless you want to send them. To send them, it's very simple. You scan an address, which is the address of your correspondent.
Of the recipient.
Correct. You send the amount you want, and it's done.
And he will be able to see the transaction happening?
Yes, from petty cash to an unlimited figure.
But we talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is one of them, and it's quite big.
That's correct. It's the first generation of blockchain and cryptocurrencies.
But then we also hear that there's other things like Ethereum.
Ethereum, correct, which is the second generation of cryptocurrencies. Ethereum brought the notion of smart contracts. It's like everyday world contracts, except that they run on top of computers. Smart contracts allows to place secured transaction, like when you have a notary, for example, you want to use a notary to secure transaction for a real estate transaction. Here you can use a smart contract as an escrow and record the transaction on the blockchain. Malta is the first country in the world to record diplomas on the blockchain. Therefore, they become unforgeable and accessible publicly forever.
So if I have a diploma,
yes,
I can go on the blockchain and check if it actually exists, when it was produced, and if you got further diplomas?
Correct. And contrary to money, it cannot be forged.
Cannot be forged because it is permanent. So the same when I do a transaction. If, for example, I like a place.
Yes.
I would like to put a deposit, but I am unable to come at that moment in time. I might be abroad and somebody matched the offer that I did. You can give instructions to the notary to go ahead, all right, and pay the deposit with Bitcoin or Ethereum.
Correct.
Correct. Now we mentioned that, but so we had Bitcoin, then Ethereum. Are there other cryptocurrencies being developed that are perhaps third generation?
There is indeed the third generation, which is developed as we speak, which is Eternity. Eternity is so far the best technology that can exist in the field of blockchain. It has an unlimited number of transactions per second, which is more than Visa, MasterCard, PayPal combined. So think Internet of Things, having all the connected objects which can finally be monetized, generating an income for the mass. It has integrated oracles, which allows to do prediction for smart contracts. Like you have a meteorological station, you can feed the meteorological data to an oracle, which is a computer program. And every time you've got another piece of software that calls those data, let's say a bigger meteorological station that want to collect extra data, you get a reward that goes on your wallet that you can use to pay for everyday expenses.
But in reality, this is not so much of a virtual currency. People are buying Bitcoin and Ethereum with money.
Correct.
So there is money backing these virtual currencies.
There is hundreds of billions of capital backing those currencies, and not only, there's as well technology. There's real added value. When you buy gold, there's no added value to it. It's a stupid metal that does nothing. But here, you've got real technology, you've got computer power that runs computations, that add value to the whole ecosystem, and that add value to your money. That's why it increases in value over time.
I heard that Japan, it's actually legal tender. People can go to the supermarket, and is this something that is growing?
It is growing in many countries. You've got the northern countries in Europe that want to go cashless. Maybe Malta should too. And in Japan, for example, where it is legal tender, you can go in any shop and pay in cryptocurrencies. But in Malta as well, you start having shops that accept cryptocurrencies, which is a good thing because of the initiative of the government, which is to promote blockchain and cryptocurrencies, which is an excellent initiative.
So just to understand, because this is something relatively new, especially for our viewers, it's possible to go from euro into Bitcoin and back to euro at leisure.
Correct, at will and without any effort. It's a very easy operation.
So even when you go abroad, are there stations or systems where you could access Bitcoin, or do you physically carry it around on your mobile phone?
You carry it on your mobile phone if you want. You can store it on a remote server if you want. Like this, you don't have to declare it at the customs. Mm-hmm. If you want to declare it at the customs because you prefer to pass them on your phone, you can. There's coming regulations in the US. They don't know exactly how to handle it yet, but it's going to be regulated. It's going to be regulated in Malta soon as well. And yes, you can basically have as much quantity of cash as you want with you.
I had read in the newspaper that the government was doing something about these blockchain technologies and about cryptocurrencies.
Yes, the Maltese government developed a task force, which is made of highly competent people in Malta. We're in contact with them, and they agree with us that indeed the latest generations of Bitcoin are possibly the best candidate for the needs to address the needs of Malta.
Basically, we're going to talk politics now, geostrategic politics. For a small island, being independent is sometimes necessary. These cryptocurrencies, is it a good plan B?
It is an excellent plan B. Of course, we think about it. What does it cost to put into place? Almost nothing. And in case we have a major country of Europe like France or Greece or Spain who decides to break up, the euro would collapse. And indeed, a country like Malta, who doesn't have any debt, which previous currency, the Maltese lira, happened to be stronger than the euro, had all interest to have a plan B. Slovenia wanted to develop its own cryptocurrency as an alternative to the euro. The European Central Bank didn't agree, but it's one thing to put it into place, it's another thing to have a safety net.
And when we have a European Central Bank that is printing 80 billion euros every month, perhaps a plan B starts to look more and more attractive. This is the program on the F-Living channel. It is called Property Behind the Scenes, brought to you by the Federation of Estate Agents. I am Simon De Bono, General Secretary of the Federation, and today I have had as my guest Hadrien Majoie, who is one of the leading entrepreneurs on cryptocurrencies and the blockchain. The program shows every day from Monday to Friday at 7:30 a.m. and 8:30 p.m., as well as on weekends at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. We shall cut to a short commercial break. See you soon.
F-Living Channel, l-istazzjon televiżiv b'differenza.
Welcome back to the program, Property Behind the Scenes, brought to you by the Federation of Estate Agents. This is F-Living Channel. The program shows every day, Monday to Friday at 7:30 a.m. and 8:30 p.m., as well as in weekends on Saturday and Sunday at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. I am Simon De Bono, the General Secretary of the Federation and your host for today. I have with me in the studio our guest, Hadrien Majoie, the owner of Simply Holding. He is an expert on cryptocurrencies and on the blockchain. We had a rather interesting discussion about what it is. In fact, even within the real estate, we see major estate agencies trending towards accepting payments in Bitcoin. My agency itself, this week, we are going to launch the Bitcoin and the Ethereum acceptability for transactions within.
Congratulations.
Thank you. How do you see this developing?
I see the latest generations of cryptocurrencies, namely Eternity, bringing a source of income to the masses. Take Malta. Malta is a hyper-connected society. Almost everybody's got Facebook. And that leads to the market of metadata. What are metadata? When you post things about yourself on the internet, you've got companies that collect those information and resell it, for example, to advertising companies. So users work and generate added value, those data, which are in fact taken from them by Facebook or other companies like Google. And that's why the capitalization of Facebook and Google is so high. But with the systems that were planned to put into place, all this value would become again the property of the people. And that's how, partly, we can generate a source of income for them. Instead of taking those data away from them, we just pay for it.
So basically, we're talking power to the people.
Correct.
This is the program on F-Living channel called Property Behind the Scenes, brought to you by the Federation of Estate Agents. I have been your host today. My name is Simon de Bon. I am the General Secretary of the Federation. My guest was Hadrien Majoie, an expert on cryptocurrencies and the blockchain, and the owner of Simply Holdings. Looking forward to seeing you. Thank you for following us.